Alright, so Saturday, January 30th Q&A session. So on a quick side note, I see a lot of people using the military date, which is like the year, the month, and the day in the comment section. But the thing is, once you finish boot camp, now in boot camp you use it a little bit here and there, but after you finish boot camp, I have personally never used that after finishing boot camp. So I think it's just a MEPS thing. They try to be cool and organize it in the best weird way that they can. So just a quick side note, after you finish boot camp, you will never really use it ever again. So first question, going right into it, comes from Magtech Blue. So how long until your retirement in the military? So all branch of service, you need to do at least a minimum of 20 years. Okay, so and are there negative stereotypes about the Navy, and are they true? So specifically the sailors. So only thing that I've heard was like Marines call like the Navy people squids, which just means they're mushy, they're weak, and all that kind of stuff. Which, in a way, I kind of agree. I do believe the Navy sailors are pretty weak, and we don't really do a lot of physical training like as much as the Marines and the Army personnel do, which in a way is understandable because we work in the ship and we're not really like hand-to-hand combat or gun-wise combat, all that kind of stuff. I mean, we have personnel for that, like the MAs. They train physically to be into some of that standard, not as much as Marines and Army soldiers, in my opinion. But it's not a negative thing. I mean, all branch of service call each other in a negative tone, negative way. So it's not negative. It's not a bad thing. It's just like a bragging kind of type thing. All right. So next question comes from Future Sailor Adam. So can you grow out your hair after boot camp? And also, can you request new orders? So in regards to hair, when you get to boot camp, you will learn everything about hair regulations. And if you have any questions, they can answer that question for you. Because if you're a female, there's female hair regulations. If you're African American, if you have that hair, there's specific regulations for that. Making sure you maintain it every day. If you have like normal hair, like where it just grows out like mine, if you saw my previous videos when I had kind of decently long hair, your hair is like, it has to be 4 inches long, but it can't be in bulk more than 2 inches. So like I can't spike my hair up when I'm at work. My hair is 4 inches, that's a big no-no. So there's specific regulations. At the same time, when you're in boot camp, they will go over that, and you can ask all your questions there, and they're the experts to answer those specific nitty-gritty questions. All right, and also requesting new orders. So once you have your order, so for example, I have my orders with a ship for 5 years, right? So let's say after 3 years, I want to get a new order to go somewhere else, but then I have 2 years left of my contract. So the process that I would take I would talk to my chain of command, and I would call my detailer and say, hey, I'm going to extend my contract an extra year or 2 years. Can you give me this order? Can you give me overseas order? Or can you give me the orders closest to my hometown or whatever like that? So you can negotiate with your chain of command, negotiate with the detailer, and then try to work something out that way, which is the only way that I've heard of. I've heard that people, if they don't like their order, they can request for a new order, but I believe that's always going to be shut down. Whatever your orders you get, it's whatever orders that you're going to stick with for the rest of your military career. So next question comes from Future Sailor Davis. And how long does it take to become a warrant officer? So to my best of my knowledge, I believe it was at least 16 years. Most of the warrant officers that I know have been in for more than 20 years. Okay, so there's a specific requirements for those, and one of them is being in the Navy, being in the military for a very long time. All right, so next question comes from Future Sailor Alvarez, asking about life in the barracks. So how is the life in the barracks and not in the ship. So I don't really know the life in the ship because I haven't lived in the ship before. But as far as living here with roommates, I've never had roommates other than my brothers, so it's a little bit of a new experience. Kind of adjusting, kind of being able to coexist with each other, which is pretty cool. You get to experience new stuff. At the same time, life outside the barracks, as far as social life, there in the Navy there is what's called MWR, Moral Welfare Recreation, which they provide some type of activities once a month or once every 2 months. So for example, past Halloween, there was laser tag that they rented out a gym facility, and then they turned that into a laser tag arena. So that was pretty cool. They also have like Spartan races, and MWR also sells tickets, movie tickets for a cheaper price. So there's always little stuff like that you can take advantage of to increase your social life. All right, so next question comes from Johnny C43. How many college credits do you need to be in E3? Now there is specific college credits for E2, which is I believe 36. Now for E3, which is 48. So which is right about, maybe, if depending on how many classes you take, a year or year and a half in college. So I do recommend that you do that. I did have enough college credits, but my recruiter did not route up the paperwork. So I'm just stuck as an E1 to begin. So I personally don't mind. Doesn't matter to me. I'm not really interested in money or rank all too much. So next question comes from Acegirl. Do we need to do pull-ups when you're in boot camp? So if you're a spec op, special operations, yes, you need to be able to do the pull-ups. But when you're in the normal Navy, for normal sailors, it's a no. So next question comes from future sailor Marley. Getting licensed and time to practice. So the Navy does not accommodate, does not have programs where they help you getting your permit and your license. Okay, they can help you with purchasing a car, but as far as getting your permits and license, that's on your own time, and that's something you have to do on your own. So I personally recommend that you take care of everything before you join the military, because what you don't want to do is when you come into the military, you have all the stuff that you need to do for the military at the same time. Now you're trying to get your permit, now you're trying to get your license. At the same time, the Navy doesn't have cars lying around for you to practice on. Right? They don't have, people who can teach you how to drive. That's going to be up to your buddy. So like my last roommate that I had, he purchased a car. He only had a permit, so I don't know how the dealer just wanted to sell military. The dealers want to sell military personnel cars because the dealers know that military people have money, right? So they are after you and I. And so my buddy got a car and he only had a permit and he only drove like 3 times. So I ended up teaching him and helping him how to drive early on. And now he's just, doing his own thing. So as far as, do you have time to practice? That's on your own time, like I said again. So after work, after everything's done, you get to practice on your own. So you want to make sure whatever status of your ship is. So for example, if you're going to go on deployment within the next 3 months, I do not recommend you purchasing a car to use just for 90 days and then it's just going to sit there and you're going to pay for it for a long period of time. I recommend, in my best opinion, not to purchase a car within your time. So next question comes from future Sailor Wood. And do I know anything about RPs? So religious personnel that they take care of the chaplains. And do they go to work, or do I know anything about them? So as far as I know anything about them, I've talked to some, and I've talked to some chaplains. I know they do a lot of, if they're in a non-combat zone, they do a lot of like paperwork, appointments, making sure the chaplains are protected and everything they need are accommodated. If they are in a war zone, you would obviously protect the chaplains, the officers, the religious officers. And, that's really all I know about them. So next question comes from sggfjtsd. sggfjtsd. So do I know anything about MA? So I did find a MA video about a person that goes to MAA school. Links down in the description. And from what I can see with my ship, they do usually work in security, you know, which is important. But at the same time, we do have Marines for security. So I guess the Navy personnel are just backups or specific locations for security where Marines can't go and stuff like that. And can they go to war? I'm not too sure. In my opinion, I don't see why not. But we're not going to have like a platoon of, you know, MAs. I don't think that's going to be the case. So yeah, you can ask the person in the links down in the description. She's an MA. She will know more about MA life than I do. So ask her. Alright, so next question comes from future sailor. I'm going to chop the name. Muelthaler. I'm sorry, I chopped the name. So, what do I know about SeaBees? So, I've talked to some SeaBees before. The only thing I know about them is not too much, but I know that their A school is in Mississippi. They do a lot of like building, construction, all that kind of stuff. So, for example, some of the examples that I've heard of was in a wartime, in a war zone, they could either be the front line or the back line. In terms of backline, you know, Marines would go first into a dangerous area, clear out the area as much as they can, and then, you know, move forward. At the same time, in the back line, the Seabees will build construction, build materials, bunkers, or whatever they need to have, or in order to get the mission accomplished. Or they could be in the front line. They wouldn't need the Marines necessarily. They could enter the war zone in a dangerous area by themselves, and then, you know, combat at the same time, build. So that's all I know about the Seabees. So next question comes from future sailor Montes. So old recruits. So do I see a lot of old recruits when I was in boot camp? Yes, and I do see a lot of older recruits that are, you know, E1s, E2s, and E3s that are just, you know, in the Navy in general. But here's the thing. The thing about being a little bit older, you know, for, you know, anything above 25, 30s and all that kind of stuff, and joining, once you hit petty officer first class, which some people make it in 2 to 3 years, okay? Some people make petty officer third class in 2 to 3 years. Some people make petty officer third class in 5, 6, 7, 8 years. So from what I can see, if you're older and you're joining, you need to be serious, right? Because when you're joining and when you're much older, there's less time for you to, you know, try out different things, because it's a time where you need to get married and all that kind of stuff, have kids, whatever. Once you hit some ranks like, you know, second class, once you hit second class, your age doesn't really matter. At the same time, from what I see personally, a lot of the chain of command look out for the older generation, older people, older recruits. They do, what it seems like to me, they do take care of the older sailors as much as they can, much more than the normal average younger sailors, which is pretty cool, which I don't personally mind. Alright, so next question comes from future sailor Edmonson, and advancements for MA. So like I said, I don't know. From what I heard, it's pretty difficult, but ask the person in the links down in the description about advancements for MAs. So next question comes from future sailor Dunson. Do I know anything about EMs? So as far as EMs, I've seen them around. They do a lot of electrical work, so electrician mate. They do a lot of electricity work. If a power is out in a certain space of the ship, they would do whatever they need to do to bring the light to that space. And that's all I know as far as what they do. And how would cross rating work? So if you don't like a rate and you want to cross rate, so for example, let's say I'm an LS, but in the near future, after 2 years, I want to be an MC, mass communication, which is what I originally wanted, right? So how would that process work? And do I need to retake the ASVAB? You don't really need to retake the ASVAB. Whatever ASVAB score you have from the beginning, you will have throughout, unless, let's say I need 5 more points for the ASVAB than what I had. Then yes, I would have to retake it to qualify. But as far as like, if you have the score that you need from the beginning, you don't have to take it again. And how it would work is you would, tell your chain of command and fill out the proper paperwork, get the proper training, and then you would work basically 2 jobs. So I would do LS work, and then I would also do MC work, and slowly but surely, start to change, and then I would become an MC. Now, that is a very, very brief version. The process is much longer and it's much more difficult. I would personally best recommend that if you're going to do something, make sure you get into the rate that you want from the beginning as best as you can. Because cross rating, all that kind of stuff, first you have to wait 2 years. Now, when you want to cross rate, the process is very, very difficult. So like I haven't gone to MC school, right? Mass communication school, but people who went to MC school would have a bigger advantage over me, who cross-rated into MC, and I'm just new to this whole thing. I don't know the whole process, whereas people who went to MCA school would know much better, would have much more knowledge, right? So going to A school is a huge advantage over someone who didn't. All right, so next question comes from Fatherlegna, and he asks, starting the process of joining the military, so where would you start? So my personal best recommendation, you would go to a local recruiter, a local Navy recruiter if you're interested in Navy. I personally would recommend that you look into all different branches, because the Navy is not for everybody. Some people prefer the Marines, some people prefer the Air Force, the Army life much better. Some people prefer the U.S. Coast Guard life much better. So I personally recommend that you look into all different branches, talk with your parents, talk with people who have been in the military for a very long time, retired, like 20 years. Get their opinion on it and see what you like, see what makes sense for you, and then make an educated decision. That's what I recommend you to do, and that's the starting process that I would highly encourage you doing. I don't encourage you to do like one thing. Like, just because I'm in the Navy doesn't mean I recommend you join the Navy, right? So what you don't want to do is only go to a Navy recruiter and say, all right, this is the best branch in the world. No. Look at all the different options and then make an educated decision, and that is my best recommendation. All right, so next question comes from Lex79, and do I have any knowledge about HMs? So corpsmen, all I know that they do, this is from my knowledge, I don't really know much about HMs. I just know they can do the simple things. Anything advanced would be to the officers. So basically, if there's like a doctor, the assistant would be the HMs, civilian comparison, where they do a lot of the paperwork, prescribing, giving medication. Prescribing would be, to the officers or higher, like the petty officer first classes, and they would do like simple treatments. And if they need to do like needle shots, all that kind of stuff, that's what the corpsmen would do. But anything advanced, like like huge treatments or something like that, that will be towards the officers. For example, when I got my dental work done, the HMs over there, they will be the assistant, giving out the materials, like the first classes or the second classes, giving out the materials, making appointments, making sure my needs are met. And the officers are the ones actually, doing the work of, doing the fillings or whatever needs to be done. All right, so next question comes from sggfjtsd, qualifying for the Montgomery GI Bill. Now, you need to, when you first join in the first week of boot camp, the processing week is when you would sign up. Okay, so before then, I'm telling you this ahead of time. make sure you make a decision as to whether or not you want to do it or not. So I personally recommend that you do it because you're going to spend $100 out of your paycheck each month for a year. And then after that, you don't have to pay that fee anymore. And then you have to be honorably discharged and be in the Navy or in the military for at least 3 years to fully qualify for all the benefits. Alright, so next question comes from future sailor Mendoza and my experience with the ASVAB. So I am going to be making a 5 things that I wish I knew before taking the ASVAB video in the sometime in the future. So that's where I will answer those questions and I'll give you my tips. And last question comes from future sailor Nguyen in terms of when you swim when you're in boot camp and you don't have the best eyesight and you need glasses, what would happen? So you get the glasses, put it in your pocket or hold it. I forgot exactly what they did. I think it was you put it in your pocket and then you would jump, enter the water, come back out, get your glasses out, wear it, and then you would swim. And that's how that process would go about. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please yes or no questions, leave it in the comment section below. Anything long question that requires me explaining, save it for Monday's Ask Yoon video. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great Navy day.